Dear partners and friends, I'm delighted to be speaking again on the anniversary of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights as we enter into the 75th year since its adoption by the UN General Assembly in Paris on the 10th of December 1948. This really explosive milestone document has transformed the world, giving life-affirming rights to each of us on an equal footing. However, there are still considerable gaps, not only in the realization of the rights enshrined in the Declaration, but also in understanding what is required in the implementation of human rights. The most recently recognized human rights to water and sanitation in 2010 and to a clean, healthy and sustainable environment just last year may be relatively new, but are critical for the challenges that we face, including the health and climate crisis. Water has finally made it into the climate agreement from the recent COP27 in recognition of the centrality of water for our lives and for the environment. But today, I would like to address a further crisis, that of a crisis in inflation and cost of living, which is perhaps not recognized as having anything to do with human rights, but it actually does. Beyond the well-known and critical human rights principles of non-discrimination and equality, participation, access to information and accountability, all of which I've spoken of in depth many times before, there is another principle that is less often spoken of, but which impacts how states raise and allocate resources. This is highly relevant to the current discussions on the cost of living crisis and the ability of the poorest and most vulnerable people to be able to enjoy their human rights to water and sanitation, among other human rights, of course. This is the obligation of states to use the maximum available resources for the progressive realization of human rights. In short, and in recognition that, of course, all human rights require sufficient resourcing to be realized in practice, this obligation requires that states not only place human rights into their constitutions, legislation and policies, but that they ensure that the money is there to realize human rights. If, as is clearly the case in many instances, states do not have sufficient resources to realize all human rights, then they must be able to demonstrate that they are working towards this in a serious and deliberate manner. In recognition of 75 years of the Universal Declaration, I would like to exhort all states to put their money where their mouths are and dedicate 2023 not only to celebrate the idea of human rights, but through raising budgets and dedicating funds for their full realization. I wish you all a happy Human Rights Day.